All right, Silva Neves, nice to see you again. And you're
Hi.
on hi, on working with shame with LGBTQ clients. Such an important topic. Tell us about it.
Well, I think when you work with LGBTQ people, you are going to work with shame because it just goes hand in hand. And the reason for it is because the LGBTQ people are considered a minority population, and there is so much discrimination and oppression in the world still today. And in fact, it's increasing in the time that we're speaking right now in 2025. And so it means that there's going to be shame, a lot of shame, because the shame comes with feeling exposed, feeling found out. And so, of course, that's really, really resonant to a lot of LGBTQ people. But the thing is that clients who come to us, they will not very often come to therapy and say, I want to work on my shame.
Yeah.
They will come and they'll say, I want to work on my anxiety, on my depression, on my sexual problems, on my relationship problems. And of course, we can work with all of that. But with the LGBTQ clients, often all of these problems that clients present with at the surface is actually has something to do with shame underneath in the background, just pulling the strings. And if we don't detect the shame, then we can work with sexual dysfunctions and so on. But often it will be the treatment might just be short term, successful for short term, not long term. Then the dysfunction might return because really it's the shame underneath that is influencing those presentations on the surface. So it's really, really crucial that we talk about shame. And again, shame is such a non-tangible thing. It's a very uncomfortable thing to try to hold. So a lot of therapists don't go there. But I think it's really important that we really get comfortable with that. That also means getting comfortable with our own shame, getting comfortable with the relationship with our own shame, and to be able to be there, really unpacking the message of shames with our clients.
Yeah, and I think that's important with therapy in general, right? Like not just staying on the surface and going, by what the client presents with or says, right? Really understanding what's going on underneath. And shame isn't always fun to talk about, and they may not recognize it themselves. What happens when the client themselves, even once the therapist kind of approaches it, doesn't recognize shame as an underlying issue?
It's okay because we can still work with shame without saying we're going to work on shame today,
Okay.
because shame is relational. Shame is when we are getting exposed to something. So in the consulting room, the client will be exposed to the therapist's gaze, and so we can actually work on shame with the therapeutic relationship without clients even consciously saying I want to work on my shame. But every single little bit that we can do with clients actually can help reduce the shame. For example, if a client comes in and they want to talk about a specific kink that maybe they were shamed about with a previous partner or maybe from society, and we just receive that information with an open mind, non-judgmental, and we are curious about it, and we ask more questions about it in a normalizing conversation, then that actually reduces the shame. Now, of course, what we might say to clients is, we're talking about your kink, but what we are also doing is working on shame.
We don't have to label it as shame.
Right. That's right. We can if it's comfortable for the client, but if it's not comfortable for the client, we don't have to.
Okay. Yeah, because there's a lot of, I think, stigma around just that word in general, even. Or,
There is, I know. And shame of course, there's a lot of stigma because it's a very unpleasant emotion. But also, it's a human emotion. So we have to learn for our clients, we have to learn to have a relationship with shame because we can't eradicate shame. It's a human emotion, but we can understand it, we can get to know it, we can try to figure out what shame is really trying to tell us that could be helpful.
yeah, and I think, such an important topic. But also it can translate to other populations as well. So while we're going to be focusing on LGBTQ, right? Working with shame is something that people need to know no matter who the population they work with is.
Yes, everybody has shame. So, yes.
But yeah, shame. Yeah. We'd have a lot less work if they didn't. All right. Well, looking forward to this class. Thank you, Silva.